Welcome back, everybody. Well, the ANC will launch its election manifesto for the 2019 general elections at the Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban today, and the event will include the party's 107th anniversary celebrations, and buses transporting thousands of party supporters have already arrived in the city, as we've seen earlier on in our crossings with our reporter Mbali and Simpiwe, in preparation for the event. Now, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says the party will continue to draw its inspirations, to draw its lessons, to draw its guidance from its former leaders who are speaking at the ANC Manifesto preview dinner in Durban. And in studio to help us dissect this event, we are joined by political analyst Levin Doe from the TUT, Tshwane University of Technology. Baba, a very good morning to you and welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning to you. Nice to be here.
Okay, first of all, we saw last night President Cyril Ramaphosa outlining some of the party's achievements over the past 25 years or so. Take us through that.
Well, that was what was expected, you know, looking at where the ANC is coming from the liberation movement and then running government from 1994 up until now. You'd then expect the ANC to go out there and reflect on what is it that the ANC has actually achieved in the past 25 years. And also at the same time, identify the main highlights on what is it that the ANC has actually done and achieved. But at the same time, you then expect the ANC to be very frank, to come out to the public and say, even though we've been in government for 25 years, there are certain challenges that we've actually identified, and this is how we need to start addressing those challenges. And what you would actually expect as well is a very frank leadership of the ANC that must be able to say, we've been successful in this area, we have not been very successful in this area, but also at the same time, we're still asking for a mandate to continue and do something better for South Africans.
Well, it suffices to mention that the party has always been diagnosing some of the challenges, but when it comes to implementation, the party has been very short when it comes to that.
That is one of the challenges that has been facing the ANC since 1994. Most people will agree with me when I say, in terms of policies, in terms of identification of problems, the ANC is tops. But when it comes to implementation, you will then realize that the same challenges that were there in 1994 remains the same challenges that we still face even today. And in terms of strategies, in terms of coming up with different means to address the issues, they are there, but the biggest challenge remains implementation. Maybe one other area that we need to look at will be to say, what are the specific areas that affects proper implementation? It will then touch on your HR section. It will also touch on the commitment of people that are being appointed. Is the ANC appointing right people to occupy right positions? Because identifying a problem, talking about the problem and implementation are two different things. And then we also have to look at the mindset of the people that you actually appoint in different spheres of government, whether these are the right people that are ready that are moving with the vision of the ANC and that of government in terms of implementation of what is actually required for all South Africans.
Okay, I want to engage you more on how the ANC has transitioned from being a liberation movement to a government over the past 25 years. But then I'm going to ask you to stay with us throughout the show as we're now crossing back to Moses Mabhida Stadium, where our reporter Mbali Tetani is now standing by with Mapaila. Well, I do understand that they're still not ready for us, so we'll certainly be crossing over to them. Yes, as I've mentioned, Levi, how would you analyze the ANC's transition from being a liberation movement, well, it's actually one of the oldest, if not the oldest on the continent, to a government over the past 25 years?
It's the ANC celebrates 107 years old now, and what you need to look at is the fact that there has been a very difficult transition, which fortunately when it was being handled, most of us were not interested in how the transition is, what are the complications and the frustrations in the transition, because we're very much excited about a vote and having a democratic government. But the ANC had to grapple with getting the administration that must start functioning from the apartheid setup to a democratic setup. The ANC had to grapple with the fact that it must start governing South Africa It must not be only a party that is opposing the government, but it must start governing and running the government. Another area that became a huge challenge has been that a lot of people that came into government lacked experience. They had never been in government. Most people were just coming from exile. Most activists were just staying in the country, fighting against the apartheid system. Then everything had to change now from being a liberation movement, dealing with the party at another level, and also dealing with government. That became a huge challenge for the ANC. Okay. One other challenge has been that you had a very fragmented South African population. Yeah. You had homelands. Yes. And you had 4 provinces. And in the context of service delivery, you had to ensure that services are provided to everybody, destroy the homeland system that was at the center of the apartheid system, ensure that the provinces and the different ethnic groups are at best able to cooperate and work with one another. And that's why now you'd agree with me that all the different homelands have been destroyed in order to be amalgamated into the different 9 provinces. Indeed. That has been a very, very huge task.
All right. Please hold your thought, Levi. We'll certainly come back to you in just a moment. But for now, let's go back to Moses Mabhida. And Mbali Tetani is standing by with the South African Communist Party's first Deputy Secretary General. Mbali, it's over to you.
Party supporters are continuing to making their way here at the Moses Mabhida Stadium, and of course this is as they await the January 8th statement that will be delivered by ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa, as well as the party's manifesto, as we do know that this will be an elections year. We will be heading to elections much later on in May this year. But of course joining us is one of the ANC's alliance partners, Mapaila from this SACP. Now, Mr. Mapaila, as an alliance partner, what is the SACP hoping to hear for this January 8th statement, as well as the party's manifesto?
Firstly, thank you very much, and we are excited here today to congratulate the ANC on its 107th anniversary, and the fact that today it is going to be public. The ANC is renewing its vows and taking a new pledge with the people of South Africa, building a new social contract with the people of this country, to be once again a trusted messenger to lead the policy of social transformation of our country in government. And this is a period of renewal, and therefore we are excited that today the manifesto and that we participated in its crafting, as well as the strategic message coming through the ANC policy statement, that is the January 8th statement, assures the commitment, the renewal back to the ANC value system, which is encouraging for us, because that's the basis we came into the alliance with the African National Congress. So it is making this vow today. We're expecting to see pro-poor, pro-working class messages coming through, the renewal of industrial strategy for the country so that we can create jobs, our people can be self-sustainable, and many other commitments, the implementation of the national health insurance, which will be a universal coverage of all our people in the top end of all our hospitals to improve their capacity, and therefore we're excited about those kind of interventions. The focus on the skills development, on youth interventions, particularly, which is a bigger sector and very energized sector in our society that is unemployed, and the focus on that, we're quite happy. Of course, we'll also be happy to listen to some of the summarized achievements of our democratic transition, whether it's in the field of building houses, in the field of education. You'll know, for instance, in the field of housing, we've built 4.7 million houses. No other government in the world has done so for the poor. Even in socialist countries, they've never done such kind of an achievement. So this is a great achievement for us, which we must celebrate. We are both celebrating and anticipating this renewal focus of the African National Congress with the people of South Africa.
And I'm sure as alliance partners, you are allowed to make your own contributions. What contributions did you make to the January 8th statement as well as the manifesto?
It was to ask the ANC to refocus on critical questions. For instance, the question about cooperative, the question about industrial strategy, the focus on implementation of the universal health coverage, the focus on the schooling system, and we've seen some of the good achievements that we've now achieved in our schooling system. The quintile 1 to 3, that is the schools in the poor communities, have now achieved higher marks than those in the top end. That is, the schools in the poor communities have achieved better than those in the affluent areas. This is quite good. It shows that our policies and our interventions in the education sector are working. And of course, in many other areas, the question of crime remains a big priority for all our people, and we've highlighted that let's find a new way of doing things, a new focus, including funding for the police in order to have resources, not to complain that we don't have resources to respond to particular problems. A new disease in the country, for instance, of huge drug problem, and how to attend to that. All of those things have been highlighted in the manifesto. Of course, the bigger focus of what we need to do, all of us, to contribute to the growth of our country, to the development of South Africa that all of us can be proud of, taking responsibility across all sectors. The presidential job summit, or various summits led by the president, the investment summit, the job summit, we think those are a great achievement. We want them to be refocused to achieving the interests of the working class and the poor of our country.
Now, we do know that under the Zuma era, the alliance partners was on shaky ground, and you expressed dissatisfaction, saying that the ANC was not involving you. Are you now satisfied with the involvement that the ANC is doing right now?
Yes, we participated in all the processes in the crafting of the manifesto. We are also having the discussion about the reconfiguration of the alliance to change the manner in which the alliance operates. We participated also in the list processes across all provinces and at the national list conference process. That's not the fundamental issue. The issue is that there's been participation. Because when we participate, we don't necessarily get everything in the process. There are other things that we don't agree with that comes through, but in the main, the thrust, the responsibility that the ANC has to the poor of our country, the majority of whom are the working class, it's an area that we are satisfied with in the general participation. So that the inclusiveness, it's a process that we are welcoming. And of course, ANC has also recently in December tabled its own draft discussion document on the reconfiguration of the alliance. We'll continue to debate and process that. And we have said that process, that the reconfiguration is not a GPS. It doesn't say you have reached your destination. It indicates that there's an ongoing struggle, ongoing development, ongoing reach out and consensus processes, and we have achieved some of those. That means there's been achieved progress in the unity of the movement as a whole, in the renewal of the movement as a whole, in how we do things. And we've also seen major calls that we've made, and the president making important interventions, be it at SARS, be it at ESCOM, be it at the establishment of the State Capture Commission, and many of those things. The focus of government, the focus of the ANC at this point in time is satisfying to the alliance partners, and we want to ask the people of our country to work with this African National Congress to once again lead the transformation agenda for the benefit of all of us.
All right, thank you. That is Soli Mapaila from the SACP, and of course we can see that this stadium is starting to fill up. I'm sure Mzwandi Lembecho will tell us more about that.